everyone, and welcome back to We're Watching Star Trek, the original series. I am Brandon, and as always, here with Paul.
Mellow greetings, people. It's Paul here, doing what I do. Apparently, I can't use Giddy Up anymore. That is now Dan's. He trademarked it. I apologize. So, for now on, it's mellow greetings. Let's keep it going. Another day. Let's go.
All right, and Dan's over here somewhere, too.
Giddy up, then.
Nope. All right. You think, how many people do you think are going to get the mellow greetings reference?
Probably not, because they're not as cool as me. So, if you don't know, Mellow Greetings is something from Demolition Man. I believe the greatest action movie of all time, personally. But,
It's up there. It's up there for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Just don't throw me through a window after you say that, though.
Yeah, ask him what his boggle is. Yeah, actually, you remember, I did a Mellow Greetings open early when we first started the podcast, when I was trying to just throw together different stuff for every episode, and I quickly dropped that because it got real dumb real fast. It's actually a little embarrassing too to think about that.
I'll put a little sauce in it though when I do it, like Mellow Greetings. This is Paul here, deep voice. Mellow Greetings, ladies.
You mean to just add a shit ton of bass to you in editing right there? Yeah. So today we are covering season 1, episode 17, just called Arena.
Wait, episode 18. It's episode 18, by the way.
Is 18?
Yeah,
Did I forget to change it in my notes?
I don't know. My screen says episode 18.
Yeah, I think it's 18 also.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to.
Oh, you're right. No, you're right. It's episode 18. I was wondering I'm surprised it took me 7 or 18 episodes in to make that mistake. I've been waiting.
Oh, see?
So yeah, we're actually covering season 1, episode 18, entitled Arena. And the original air date for this is January 19th, 1967. Any corrections on that one?
I know.
No? Okay.
He's like, you see here, right? Oh my God. I don't know when the show came out.
You don't remember this one from 67?
No, I was still swimming around apparently.
Yeah. And surprise, surprise on this one, the Enterprise is orbiting a planet called, actually no. Yeah, they are orbiting. Sorry, I watched this a couple days ago. I normally watch these the night before. Yes, orbiting a planet called Cestus 3, and the main crew are in the transporter room where Kirk and McCoy are talking about Commodore Travers, who they're going to go visit on this planet. Travers, I guess, calls Kirk, tells him, hey, we're ready for you guys to beam down and bring all of your tactical people because I've got an interesting problem for you. And Spock's like, man, I wonder why, Travers wants tactical people. And Kirk is like, well, maybe he just wants their advice, which I don't know why he couldn't just call them and ask for their advice. He's like,
Spock, just quit being so sus.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Spock, he tries to go on a little more, but McCoy just interrupts him and talks about Travers' famous hospitality. Apparently this dude's really well known for, I don't know if it's just having, sweet banquets or if
they're all talking about the food. Hopefully he has a private chef. I was like, oh, it's like that then. They were all excited for the food.
Yeah. Which, I mean, imagine how good it is if it's galaxy known, known to all of known space. That dude throws a party.
So they're going to Space Taco Bell then.
Yeah. You got to go to Galaxy Blah Blah and go to Commodore Travers' party, man. It was crazy over there. Way crazy.
Yeah.
That crazy? Yeah, that crazy. Trust me.
The whole planet is changing colors from his strobe lights and shit. You can see it just from solar systems away. They're just getting down.
Yeah. Oh my God, the planet is. Oh man, that sounds funny. Oh my God, that's gotta happen in this show, man. There's a planet. Is just changing different colors. You go in there, there's I don't know, LSD and stuff in the air, drugs everywhere. You just breathe in, it's in the air.
This show has been one of those things where I want to see ridiculous shit like that. I'm like, oh, we'll never get that. And then we get something super similar, and I'm always surprised by it.
Yeah.
Which I shouldn't be. Writing has been insane. It's been good writing, but really good ideas and stuff.
Yep.
And just sometimes off the wall stuff that turns out to be really good.
Yep.
So, they go to the transporter and they beam down to the planet, and then they quickly realize that the colony has been destroyed. So Kirk goes to radio the Enterprise and puts them all on red alert. And can you imagine how weird it is? You're getting ready to beam to a place that you probably haven't been before. So you have this expectation of what's going to be there when you get there, and it's just not that. But then at the same time, I figure every time you beam everywhere, there has to be an initial shock of literally a fraction of a second ago, I was here. Now I'm suddenly here. Like, that's got to be a really weird thing to try to get used to.
Do you think, like, the first time going through the teleporter, you end up, like, puking your guts out?
Oh, dude, I bet it happens all the time.
I was sure we go through training for that whole the whole the jogginess of going somewhere to one place. I assume we do training
Yeah.
for it. I guess we haven't seen. That's one thing we haven't seen in any Star Trek things. A lot of time is a lot of the academy training. They'll do certain things like the new Star Trek movie does that a little bit, but it doesn't show like everything, like the fighting, the studying, everything. That like Star Trek Cadet. What a good show I did for a show. Like
Yeah.
you see somebody like going through whatever they go through at cadet school. We don't know what they go through. Like we see small highlights here and there, but we never see like the whole journey of them going through the school to see how they learn how to do what they do.
That would be a pretty cool story to tell.
Yeah. And like Dan pointed out, I bet like first time transporter usage has like a 99% puke ratio. It's like the
Yeah.
thing with like Neo trying to make the jump across the building and how nobody makes it first jump. They're like, nobody,
Yeah,
transports first time without puking.
yeah. And then apparently that's the one guy who does it. And he's like the next, he's a special one. He's gifted.
Yeah.
He's
He's,
like, oh my
he's
God.
the one we can transport anywhere.
He's like, you didn't puke, you get sick. Like, no, I'm too good to get sick. Like, oh, that's very weird. Like, and he's just different. Like, it sounds like a really good
Do you
idea.
think they feel being ripped apart and reassembled?
I don't know if they've ever talked about it before. You don't hear them scream. That's one thing. You don't hear them scream out in pain when it happens, which I find very weird.
Well, that'd be a horrible way to transport something, like you're yelling in pain, like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Or does it happen so quick you can't even the pain is so quick and so hard you can't even react to it because it's so fast and so painful. By the time you go to scream, it's already over.
Yeah, I feel like if that was the case, they would be using their shuttles a hell of a lot more. Because, I mean, they like transport everywhere. Like, they easily could have just flown down to this colony with one of their shuttles. I feel like this is, like, it's one of those things where there has to be a guy on the Enterprise that, he's got to go to the restroom or something, and he realizes this transporter room is closer than the restroom, so he just goes and, like, transports to the restroom. Like I feel like first of all, there has to be a guy doing that. And then also, there wouldn't be that guy if it hurt, like, a lot.
Yeah, I just don't. I guess maybe they explained it in some other Star Trek lore, guys. Maybe you guys know as Trekkies, you guys might know. When I'm not sure, all the questions I asked kind of on the fly. I just never understood the idea of you being ripped apart and reassembled. Is it so fast you can't even feel it, or is it like painful? Or is the different question? Because I know that the show I watched called Fringe, where they came up with the concept of the scientifically idea for it, and when they did it, the dude was in pain and he was screaming out in pain. And when he reconstituted, his DNA was actually scrambled because it changed, it messed them up when they put them back together. I'm wondering, was there a time when transporter were first made when there was like they were just dying, like practicing on goats or something, goats or birds or what? I don't know, monkeys for years, and they would just
Oh, you would
blast them
imagine it
apart?
would take time to work that all out.
Yeah, I'm curious about the creation of the transporter and the creation of the path of the cadets too. Like I'm kind of I don't want to go on forever, but I'm kind of a background story guy. Like I want to know the background behind people sometimes. You meet people way later. I like to know the interesting stuff that made them the person who they are. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, dude, early transporter, like, testing stuff would be amazing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so at this point we get the show opening, which is about a minute in, which normally indicates that it's going to be a pretty busy episode. I've noticed, like, if we get the opening, like 5-6 minutes in, then it's like, there's probably not a whole lot going on. But usually when they give it to us immediately, like, there's a ton going on.
Yeah.
But so down on the planet, Kirk and crew, they run to a nearby, like, kind of messed up statue for cover, and Kirk tells Spock that he wants him to get his tricorder out and give some readings for life detection. And he and Spock determine that the messages that they received must have been faked, and that the colony was probably destroyed several days ago, which, like, they came to that conclusion really, really quickly.
A question here though. The message they got were faked. How were they faked? I'm curious. The voice recording guys? Where do you get the voice from?
Well, if you remember, we saw in the menagerie, Spock did the same thing with Kirk's voice to manipulate the crew into stealing the ship. So maybe.
Oh yeah. Okay, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say for sure, but
I was just curious, and then later on when we meet the alien, I don't want to expose it out there. He don't seem very intelligent type, so I'm just wondering.
Yeah,
he ain't Spock smart like Spock doing that. I'm like, oh, Spock smart,
but
But
they haven't figured out how to travel through space, so they can't be that dumb.
Well,
yeah, that's fair too.
Yeah, so I'm just I guess you're right. You're right. Okay.
And later
I'm
in the
just
episode, they state that the Enterprise is the only ship in that quadrant of the galaxy. So they must have really good detection systems also, like, oh, hey, there's a Federation ship over here that we need to take care of.
Yeah, so they're technologically advanced, even though they don't really look like it.
yep.
Don't
Okay.
judge a book by its cover.
Okay.
Yeah, or a giant lizard.
Right?
So Kirk, he orders his crew members, Lang and Kelowitz, to go look for survivors, and right away I'm like, they're fucked. Like they're probably not gonna make it. But then again, like we've been wrong about that recently. Every time people split up, we're like, oh, they're screwed, and then they just come back and everything's fine.
No, it's always the guys with the helmsman with the weird names, like Fitzpatrick, like he did. Like they want you to have an impact. No, listen, I'll fix right now. It's like they want you to have an impact of his name being so weird that you remember his name the whole time, and then they want to kill him off. They're like, oh, there goes blah blah blah. How the hell do I remember his name? Yo, because it was so weird when I heard it, I couldn't forget it.
Yeah,
They seem to do that a lot where they give the helmet person a weird last name. They're like, oh yeah, he's dead.
which is hilarious. Like literally, the next word in my notes is O'Hurley, which is the last name of that guy that stays with McCoy and Spock and Kirk.
Dude, I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you. I noticed that like this episode particularly when I saw their name, I thought, oh, they're dead, and I thought, why? Like because their name. And I thought of a joke in my head. So now I'm gonna start paying attention now to every guy who dies, helmsman, and see who the last name is, because I'm pretty sure it's something weird.
They really go with a lot of like Irish names.
Yep.
The moral of the story is don't name your kids weird in the future because they will die in space.
Yeah, don't have an Irish last name, because if they have an Irish last name and they go on the Enterprise, they are fucked.
Yep.
But Spock picks up a reading on the tricorder, and they start to head towards that to see if it's a survivor. And then what's really weird about this is that they start walking towards, the possible survivor, and we get a captain's log in the middle of this. And I'm like, it's been it's been 3 minutes. Like, what the fuck are we recapping right now?
Dude, I put it in my notes. I was like, yo, the captain's log, that was strange. Like, I'm not tripping out. Like, that was really weird, right? And I'm glad you mentioned this. Oh my gosh, dude, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, I checked the time. It was literally 3 minutes into the episode. Kirk's like, yeah, we went to a planet. Some shit was bad. You guys saw the show opening, and that's it.
The captain's log also was talked. It wasn't talked in past tense this time. It was like he was talking while he was doing it, which I thought was weird.
Yeah, he's like I'm stepping with my right foot right now. Like, okay.
Yeah. I thought that was it was like that too. I thought that was weird also. Like the captain log was like present instead of like retelling a story.
Yeah. 3 minutes in. Weird. 3 minutes in, they're already doing a recap. Like I forgot everything that happened in the last 3 minutes when 30 seconds of that was the opening to the show.
Well, dude, in the 60s, they couldn't pay attention that closely, so they had to do a quick recap for everyone that might have missed it.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm tripping right now, Brandon, because I can't believe you saw that, dude. I'm tripping. Like, I'm so glad you saw that, so I don't feel so weird when I saw that. I thought maybe I'm over like analyzing like I do sometimes, but I'm glad you saw that, so I don't feel so weird.
It makes me wonder. I wonder if they had a commercial break, like if they did the intro and then went to commercial and came back, or.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
That is what happens. That is what happens, actually.
Okay, I mean, I guess it makes a little more sense, but still, like, it's not even that much happened between the beginning of the show and the opening. So
we know you just watched the opening and some commercials, but just in case you forgot.
Yeah, in case you forgot, we went to a planet. Everything wasn't as we thought it was, and that's really about it. Okay.
That'd be a really boring story for an episode. Like, they actually just show up, everything's okay, and they leave. Like, oh, well, episode over.
Yeah, we really thought stuff was going to be fucked up. Sorry, we must be in the wrong place. And they just go. So yeah, they keep walking, and they find a guy that's still alive, but he's in shock, and he's got some radiation burns, and Spock takes another reading, and he's like, hey, I found some people, but they're not survivors. And he says that they're living creatures, but they're not warm-blooded, and they're definitely not human. And he says that they're about 1,570 yards away. So Kirk orders O'Hurley to go check it out. He's like, hey, you don't seem important. Like, why don't you go ahead and give your life for the name of the Federation? And he stands up. Like, O'Hurley, he stands up, and he just shouts that he sees something. He's like, I thought, there's something over there, which was really weird. But then he's just, instantly vaporized. Yeah, instantly vaporized. Like, they don't know what's going on. They get to this place, like, people are dead, shit's blown up. They're trying to, like, stay in cover and be, kind of sneaky. And this motherfucker just stands up. He's like, I see something. Like, dude, you're fucked. Like, you're dead. You can't do that kind of thing.
And no one batted an eye either over it.
No, they didn't even care. They knew he was screwed.
Yeah.
That's why they brought him down.
What's their death toll up to now? 45?
That takes us to 45, yeah.
I thought the one thing about that when he died, though, that initial reaction, they didn't have a reaction to him dying. Like
they knew it was coming.
Yeah, but nothing? Like, oh, damn, O'Han or whatever the hell his name was. Like, Henry, whatever it was. Like,
O'Hurley?
Hurley. Like, nothing? Like, not even a look of shock or nothing. Like, that, he just died, bro. Like, it was an explosion. Like, nothing?
Well, that's the whole reason he was there. Like, when Kirk's picking his landing party, he's like, all right, we got me, we got Spock, we got Bones, we all do stuff, but we need a guy to die so that we know that something's going on. Like, O'Hurley, what are you doing a little bit later?
We need the B team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to bring that guy because you can't have, one of the main crew dying right away. Like, that's not how you kick shit off.
We were giving Spock some shit, a couple weeks ago about how cold he was when, people were dying, but Kirk kind of did the same thing in this episode.
Well, that's that, but nobody reacted, though. It's not a Spock thing or Kirk thing this time. Like, nobody had any reaction. I find that 100% strange. Like, I don't know. I know in war, dudes are tough as hell. And military guys are tough. But you have like or something like, oh, damn, like something, nothing.
Well, the story I saw that Kirk actually lost to him in a poker game, so he was kind of glad they didn't owe him any money.
He didn't have to pay him back.
He's like, oh no.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, oh no, he's not.
Those space credits I owe him. That's how Kirk picks his people. He's like, oh, I owe this one money.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh.
Yeah, so they take cover, and Kirk tries to call the Enterprise to get beamed up. He's like, yeah, we need to get the fuck out of here. And Sulu responds by saying that the Enterprise is under attack, so they're like, hey, we can't really beam you up because we have our defensive screens up right now. So Kirk tells him to, fire all of his phasers at whatever the hell they're being attacked by. And we get a really good shot of the Enterprise firing the phasers, which, like, I love. Like, we see so much of that ship just kind of floating through space that, like, seeing it in combat is something that I really, really enjoy.
What's weird about this scene is that you got Kirk and Spock on the planet. Who's your number 3 guy that should be in charge of the ship when they're both off ship?
Yeah, there's really nobody, like, in charge up there.
Maybe
like, I saw it throughout the episode that Kirk was just going to hand over the reins to Sulu, like, hey, just do what you need to do. Don't be calling me to ask if you want me to fire, the proton torpedoes and all this. Just do what you need to do.
I feel like...
I'm surprised he didn't do that.
I feel like if Sulu did just take over, like, I feel like Kirk would trust him enough to know that he made, like, the right decision and everything. So. Kirk has this weird obsession with this ship that, like, he has to be in control of it even when he's not there.
He's a control freak, and
yeah.
But I think that's part of your thing of being a captain, though. I mean, you have to be a control freak to be a captain because there's so many people under you that things you have to control on a ship.
Yeah,
you got to think about it. Like he has to relegate to all the people on the ship or whatever. Being like the CEO of a company, CEO of a ship. So of course I think you got to be a little bit that way.
Well, they've also stated that Kirk's first love is that ship.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's not a natural love either. He doesn't just like that ship. He really, really likes that ship.
Look, we don't need to see no fanfic of Kirk and the ship.
Oh no! Oh, I pictured it.
Oh, you dirt dog, man! He runs for me.
So this next part, Sulu reports that the alien ship has defensive screens up, so their shots didn't do anything. And Kirk tells him to take all action necessary to protect the ship. So he does like kind of hand over control of the ship to Sulu there, just to make sure that he keeps everything safe.
Yeah, I think that's good, but I think it's more about him. See, it's weird because when he gave Sulu the reins of the ship, I think in his brain he thought the ship was more important anyway. That was the one time I realized that he thought the ship was more important than everybody on the planet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but the ship has like 400 something, people on it, and there are like 5 of them on the planet at this point.
Yeah, I know, I get it, but every decision he makes always about the ship, so it's kind of weird for me to see him give up the reins. Like, yo, take care of my ship. Yeah,
and I wonder sometimes if like sometimes, yeah, it is literally about, the physical ship, but I think a lot of the times, like, he says ship, but what he means is like the crew on the ship, because the destruction of the ship is the destruction of the crew. So
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll give you that. Maybe he just doesn't say the crew. He says the ship a lot and just
yeah.
puts them all in together.
What I really liked
That
about
makes
this
sense.
scene though is that when he's talking to Sulu and he's like, "Yeah, do everything you have to take care of the ship." And then he waits for a second to see if Sulu's going to say anything, and then he says Kirk out and he hangs up. And it's like the one fucking time you don't just hang up on somebody is when you're in a war zone being like literally shelled by mortars, and then he waits and
I
like
noticed that
improves his phone
also.
etiquette. He's like,
I didn't
Jesus
even know. I
Christ,
didn't notice
dude.
that.
Yeah. So so they are being shelled by like mortars and stuff, and that continues as the crew looks for cover while carrying around the injured guy that they found. And they find a little bit of shelter, and the Kirk tells Kilowitz and Lang to go flank the enemy and lay down some fire on the coordinates that Spock had announced earlier. So Kirk mentions, how helpless they are and how he wishes that he had the Enterprise. And Spock is like, look, Sulu is an experienced combat officer. He's going to be fine. And Kirk just like is not hearing that. He just cuts him off and he's like, well, it's my ship and I should be there. And I don't know why, like,
He's like my baby.
yeah, and it's that thing we just talked about. It's like, this is definitely not about the crew. Like, this is about the actual physical ship. But for some reason, when Spock had said, hey, Sulu's very qualified for this, I realized Spock and Sulu never really interact. Spock obviously still has, great respect and he trusts Sulu for, this kind of thing. But it's weird that, we
Wait,
get
they
all these
never have they
interactions
ever?
and they really
Oh my
never do anything
God.
together.
Have they ever been on anything together?
Well, Spock nerve pinched him once when he had that virus and was attacking him with a sword. But other than that, like they don't
Okay,
really
okay, I remember
they don't
that.
do much together.
I think the only interactions they really have is when Spock is in command of the ship and Sulu happens to still be there piloting the ship.
Yeah, and Spock's just giving him orders. But like
Yeah,
they're together all the time and they rarely ever talk to each other.
yeah. Like when you see Bones and Spock together, it's memorable because the way they talk together and the way him and Kurt have a relationship too. Spock. So I never thought about that before. We actually here's the thing though. We haven't seen Sulu be very personal and approachable yet in anything yet. He hasn't
No,
had like a moment with anybody like that. So he doesn't have a lot of like his character development isn't as wide as the rest of the crew.
Which is weird because he's still one of the iconic characters from the
Yeah.
show.
Which maybe later on like he'll start getting more and more exposure. But I didn't think about that till you said that now. Like yeah, that he's not him and Scotty. Him both and Scotty right now aren't very exposed and personalized whatever. And they're pretty much two of the biggest people I know in Star Trek history. So that's kind of weird.
yeah, and while like he hasn't had a ton of character development, the little bit that he's had has been really good.
Yeah.
In The Enemy Within, when he was trapped down on the frozen planet, like he showed that even though he's about to die, like he still kept his good mood up. Like he was
Hmm.
still joking as he's fucking freezing to death. And like the few situations that he's been in, he's been a super reliable, like just pretty chill dude. So like he's had a little bit of character development, but yeah, I really want to see like a mostly Sulu episode because he's an interesting character, and I don't feel like we get enough of him. He's just kind of there, always taking orders and like yes sir, and then just like hits the button. So, but Kirk and Spock they kind of discuss how they're at a standstill, and neither side are able to advance on the other one because they're positioning, and they decide to risk everything to go to a place that's called the Arsenal, about 100 yards away, which I assume is a literal arsenal, probably where there were like weapons or something kept. So Kirk's like, all right, I'm going to be the first one to go. And he just like runs out in the open and shells are exploding all around him. And like one of them knocks him down and he takes
He's like,
cover.
it's time to get on my phone.
Yeah, he takes cover in like a hole and he calls Sulu for a report. And Sulu's like, yeah, we can't get through the enemy shields. So Kirk tells him to arm the photon torpedoes, which is the first time we've seen them. And Sulu's like, well, I can't get visual contact on the enemy ship, but it doesn't match any of the known configurations that we have in our records, so we don't even know, what we're about to be shooting at. But then the photon torpedoes are ready. Somebody in the weapons room or whatever says that they're ready, and so they fire the torpedoes, and we get, a pretty cool shot of the Enterprise firing photon torpedoes, but they come out of nothing. Like there's no space on the Enterprise for these, like no cutout or anything where they would be coming from. So they just like appear at the front of the ship and just like shoot away.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, just a weird little not mess up, but they probably didn't think that they were ever going to be firing torpedoes from the front of
I
this
do want
thing.
to say something about the term what term they used. They used the term screens instead of shield, and I wrote that down.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's this original Star Trek thing, or if they changed it to shield later on. So I want to mark that and keep that in the space for whatever. Because this is the first time I even heard them reference the shields in general. I've heard
Yeah.
it's the first time I haven't heard the reference to it at all, and they called it a screen, not a shield. So I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
I don't
Is
think we
it?
have heard it.
Yeah, no, I don't think we have at all. I don't think they've actually said anything about the shields before. Not one time, I don't think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, because it was weird to me. They said the word screen instead of shield. That's why I noticed, and I was like, who uses the term screen instead of shield? I thought it was kind of weird. So I'm
Yeah.
so now I'm curious about just I'll keep that in my note and remember, and then maybe later on there's somebody will say, oh, they say shield now or something like that, because I know that we use shield all the time talking about Star Trek, and not the term screen. So I'm really curious
Right.
about that.
So Kirk loses communications with Sulu, and he gets up and starts running again, and another shell explodes near him, and he rolls away from that one, and tries to contact Sulu again and tells him to do whatever he has to do to protect the ship, which includes leaving orbit and just like warping away. So Sulu's like, all right, but the photon torpedoes, they didn't have any effect, and I'm gonna get the fuck out of here.
Yep.
So Kirk just says good, and then he hangs up on him, and then he goes to like seek more cover, which like it's the one time it's acceptable for to hang up, because he's literally got mortar
Being
shells
shot
exploding
at.
around him. Yeah, so like I feel like that's okay. Probably the wrong time to make that call anyway.
I feel like that's not far off. Like, I feel like if that were to happen nowadays, people like, hey, I'm being shot at. I'm gonna bust my phone out.
Yeah, well, yeah, now, but
Well, see, they're in the future, so the past line shows correctly. Like, oh, hey, that's what would happen.
yeah, that's what they used to do.
Back in the 20th century, they used to get on their phones and
Yeah.
when
And
they were in
just
danger.
yeah, he should have pulled out his communicator and just like started recording like a TikTok. And he's like, "Yo, it's your
Oh,
boy
God.
Kirk here. Like, got explosions going on
Being
around me.
shot at.
Yeah, like and subscribe."
Oh my gosh!
Oh, that's not how they do their captain logs.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like I think you can make a TikTok really dedicated to that, like making fun of real life things with TikTok videos. That'd be hilarious if somebody did that.
I was gonna say that's not gonna be me, because then I'd have to get on TikTok, and that is not happening.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I meant just
Yeah.
in general.
So yeah, Spock checks on that survivor that they found, and McCoy says that the survivor's going to be dead in a half hour if they don't get him to some decent care. And Spock just like starts scanning again, and he sees that the enemy is moving, so he's got to go get to Kirk to let him know. And he dodges a couple of the explosions and gets to Kirk, who's just like hiding in the hole at this point, and he's setting up like he found a mortar.
I wanted to see Spock just walk out there like a beast and like, oh, these shells won't hurt me. And they're just blowing up around him. He just casually walking towards Kirk, like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, he used his logic to figure out where they were going to land. And he just like casually dodges all of them.
He's like, they're really bad at aiming.
Yeah. So so Kirk finds like a mortar, and he's just setting this thing up, and Spock notices that the enemy has locked onto his tricorder, and so he tosses it away, and like as soon as it lands somewhere, a shell hits it and it just explodes. And Spock remarks about how smart it was for them to be using his tricorder against him. And I was like, wow, like that's a really nice touch to this episode. Like that's some pretty solid writing. I had not considered that was what was going on.
And for Spock to give a high praise to someone, kind of cements it also.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was going to say the same thing just now. So you took words out of my mouth.
Yeah, so they set up the launcher, and Kirk calls for Lang to come over, but Kilowitz shows up, and he says, well, the enemy got Lang, and we didn't see where it came from, so that's 46 dead, and we didn't even get to see that one. Kirk asks Kilowitz, he's like, hey, where do you think they're hiding? And Kilowitz is like, well, if it was me, I'd be over there on the high ground about 1,200 yards away. There's a Star Wars joke in there somewhere I'm not going to make. Kirk sets up the launcher, and Kilowitz is like, hey, we're pretty close for that, grenade that you're about to be launching. And Kirk is like, well, it's going to be a lot closer to the enemy. And he tells them to get clear, which was that was a solid line from Kirk. He's like, yeah, it is close. Well, wait till they see how close it gets. And I realized that I really like this like mid-battle Kirk. He's just really on top of shit. And he's like super confident about what he's doing, and like he's really good at he's always been really good at giving orders, but like even here on the ground when it's just absolute fucking chaos, like he's giving everybody really good orders.
Yep, good orders, just right to the point, clear, clear and precise. Wow, good talk.
Yeah.
Why he's the captain?
Here's what's going. Yeah, I can't be captain, bro. Nah.
But then I was wondering like what these little like blue paintballs are even going to do that he's freaking out so much about, like, oh, we're a little bit close for that. Like,
yeah, like when I heard that, oh my god, bro, like, is it gonna be that like that? Like, I wonder what it was immediately.
So they fire the launcher, and the thing explodes, and it's like a laser nuke, basically. Like, it's just this really, really bright
Yeah.
light. I was like, like before they shot at him, like, oh, maybe that guy's just being overly cautious, and he doesn't, he's just worried about it. But no, dude, they fire that thing from a fucking planet away. Like, that thing was insane. How did they get beat if they just got a box of those things laying around?
They got surprised. They didn't know.
It's fucking. I don't even care. Like, if you get surprised, you run straight to the fucking laser grenade and you just throw them all, dude.
Like, no, they weren't ready. They had women and children there. They weren't ready. They're outside playing kickball. All of a sudden the dude showed up, started killing everybody.
Yeah, that thing was nuts.
Good thing the enemy didn't have that.
Oh, I know. They still scary enough that they have like instant disintegration laser. Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Because you can't even get like, if a bullet can ricochet and like hit you in the leg, or like it can wing you and just like kind of scratch you. Like, if that thing just even lightly touches you, I imagine you're just done. Like, full on done. Like, if it hits your big toe, like you're fucked.
Exactly.
Well, we were talking about the teleporter being painful. Do you think being vaporized being painful also, or that just quick and you're just gone?
Oh God, I would hope it'd be quick. I'm sure it feels like an eternity.
Look quick to me.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be insane if it was like actually slow motion or something like that. Like you gone quick, but it's went real slow.
Yeah.
That'd be weird.
Like, from your perspective, like, it was a split second, but from your point, like, it happening to you, like, oh God, this is like 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, so they peek out of the hole to survey the damage, and Kirk gets his call from Sulu, who tells him that the enemy is withdrawing. So he says that the ship is at an extreme range, but their sensors picked up the enemy activating the transporter. So they picked up all their people off the planet and took off, because they were like, whatever the fuck that is, like, I don't want to mess with that. And Kirk orders Sulu to lock onto the ship and beam down a medical party of 30 to search for survivors. And then there you go back up to the Enterprise. And that's when we get another captain's log just kind of explaining that they're chasing the enemy ship into largely unexplored section of the galaxy. But at this point, isn't like pretty much the entire galaxy still largely unexplored? Like, how much of that thing have they explored to this point?
Apparently not this section.
Not sure.
Yeah, they skip this one. They're like, we're going to do that one later.
Unexplored by them, though.
But why the fuck are these people setting up a colony in a section of space that they don't know anything about?
That's a good point. I assume they didn't know anybody existed out there. Maybe they went out there, saw nothing for like hundreds of light years, thought nothing's going on over here, set up an outpost.
I feel like this exact situation is like a really good reason to make sure that, nobody else is out there. But in the sick bay on the Enterprise, the survivor is telling Kirk and Spock and McCoy what happened on the planet, and he says that the enemy ship came in just like every other ship does, but it started attacking them out of nowhere, and that whatever they were using, they were like phasers, but somehow worse. And he says that they tried to surrender, but the enemy just didn't let up and just kept killing them.
Hold on, I got a question. We said that. Hold on, I got a question right there. So, okay, aliens show up. We try to surrender. What if they don't speak English? I'm curious. Or what if their language never been heard before? Like, they're taking their surrendering gas, and to them that means, oh my God, yeah, we're gonna kill you guys. Yada yada yada.
Right.
Because
so it's like Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
Where they come in peace and start killing everybody.
Yeah. There's no language gap. Like, there's a language gap, and I'm curious. Like, they never mentioned that in this show yet. Wow, I can't speak. Everybody speaks English apparently.
Do they got like a universal translator?
Well, we have one later, like from the.
Well, yeah, I just mean, do they have one now?
But
though?
like, how could a universal translate something it's never heard? Like, it has to have that language programmed in order to be able to, translate that language, right?
Yeah, that's so deep. Exactly. So I'm just curious, like, how that process works when you go to other planets and they don't speak English. But everybody speaks the same language on this so far on this show. I don't like that. That's one thing I noticed about this show. It kind of annoys me.
Yeah, it's dumb that they all speak English. But like, in terms of, communication, the Earth went through that period at one point when everybody started traveling the globe and found that nobody else spoke the same language. And we did fine. So, I'm sure it's incredibly similar to that.
But I assume the initial reactions, though, will still be more combative. Like, there's a weird species here. I assume it goes more bad than good. Like, we haven't seen a lot of first contact things either yet.
No.
It could be one of those things like you give them the peace sign, and they're like, oh, hey, you're flipping us off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's part of learning, about another culture. So.
Yeah, I'm just asking. People not get too deep. My bad, fellas. My brain.
No, it does raise questions. If we were to start actually exploring the galaxy, how would you interact with another life form that you know nothing about?
Yeah, I mean, well, like I said, we did that in Earth's history, so like I said, it'd probably be really similar.
Yeah, but we're still humanoid though. So even though we look different, we're still humanoid. So I think the initial reaction is so crazy. But aliens they don't look like us, and they don't speak our language.
Yeah.
Like that sounds very daunting and scary.
Yeah. But so Kirk asks the guy about the messages that they received, and the survivor says that, hey, we didn't send in the Enterprise any messages, so we'd been attacked, a full day before, Kirk and his crew got there. And then a little bit later in Kirk's quarters, he and Spock are talking about how the call to them was a trap, and Kirk says that the Enterprise is the only protection or in that area for the Federation, and that if it were to be destroyed, then it would leave everything open for attack. Which, I mean, they that colony was the only thing that they have in that area anyway, right? So, like, who gives a fuck?
We don't know how wide the area is.
Well, it's unexplored space. Like, they haven't.
No, I'm saying we don't know how wide the area the Enterprise has to protect. It could be 500 light years away or whatever. So I'm assuming that maybe like 20 light years from where they are now might be something else close.
Yeah, because didn't they mention about being kind of like a police force at that point? Like, oh, hey, it's their duty to go after who did this.
Yeah. But I mean, the Federation must be absolute fucking trash to have one ship to patrol like a huge area like that. Like, nothing's ever going to happen to them. Like, I feel like there has to be more than, one. But, again, they're in unexplored space. So, like, that's what I thought was really weird was he's like, yeah, we're the only ones out here. And if we don't make it, everything out here is left open for attack. Well, there's fucking nothing out there. That's why you didn't know that these guys were out there, because it's unexplored space.
Okay. I get what you're saying now.
Yeah. Yeah, Spock doesn't think that Kirk has any proof to support that, everything he just said was going to happen, and Kirk doesn't agree with that, and they argue about it for a second, and Kirk's not going to relent on anything, and he thinks that the aliens were there to just invade. So Spock, he relents because Kirk gets all captain on him, and he's like, well, we have to make sure that the alien vessel never reaches its home base, and Kirk agrees. And so he calls Sulu and orders him to go to Warp 6 to catch up to the enemy ship, which is doing Warp 5.
Which at this point in the episode, I'm actually agreeing with Kirk's decision.
Well, yeah, once you've been attacked like that, yeah, I think you gotta go after him.
Which I was kind of surprised Spock was actually against going after him.
I wasn't surprised by Spock not going against him because you don't know why. You don't know. You get there after the issue. Like, let's say I call you something, I punch you in the face. People are like, oh my God, you punched him in the face. Well, yeah, there was a reaction though. You called me something. That's why I punched you. There's a reason why.
Right.
So Spock was like, well, we don't know the reason what they did. That's how Spock brain works. Logically, he needed to know the reason they did it. So.
Yeah, Kirk's very reactionary in this episode like that. Like, he doesn't.
Yep.
He just accepts what that survivor said, as full truth, and like that's the version that he's going with. Which, I mean, maybe that son of a bitch was lying.
It'd be hard not to after you've been fired upon.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't know why. Again, like, you can't. I mean, yeah, you can believe that survivor, but maybe he's a fucking liar. Like, maybe he started the whole thing, and now he's just trying to get away with something dastardly, which wouldn't be surprising for this show.
Exactly,
right.
Sir. Exactly.
Yeah, so they're going to go Warp 6 to catch up with the enemy ship, and they're going to set their phasers on standby and have them ready. And then Kirk addresses the entire ship over the intercom and orders them to report to their battle stations and, put the ship on red alert, which we've talked about before. Like, hey, finally, he's telling the entire crew, the whole ship. He does it sometimes. He doesn't do it all the time. And this is a really good time to let them know, hey, we could be potentially dying here pretty soon. So, strap it in.
But red alert means go to battle station. So technically you had to.
Yeah.
When you hit the red alert, everyone's going to go to battle station anyway. So
yeah,
this ain't really special.
Right. But it's just nice to know, they know what's going on now, like why they're at red alert. So we get a commercial break and we come back to another captain's log, just explains, hey, we're chasing this ship. And they're on the bridge, and Kirk's giving out some orders, and he asks, what everybody knows about the area, but nobody knows shit because, again, it's unexplored. So Sulu reports that the enemy ship has to be aware that they're being chased because they've gone to Warp 6 as well. So Kirk is like, all right, well, then we're going to go to Warp 7. And, like, everybody turns around and looks at him like, oh, my God, Warp 7.
Which, at this point, I think this is the fastest they've ever gone, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, judging by the reactions, probably. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Because, like, this is where, Spock, thank God for him, he explains to us that sustained Warp 7 is going to be dangerous. And Kirk is like, well, we have to catch the enemy. So Scotty is like, hey, we're going to catch them or we're going to blow up in the process. And he says that the enemy might be faster than the Enterprise. And Kirk's like, well, they're going to have to prove that they're faster.
Which I actually like that quote from him.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's weird because I like Kirk here, but I don't like the things, like, I don't like the overall thing that he's doing, but I like, he's like very matter of fact about stuff. And like, he's very, quick on things. I just don't necessarily agree that they should be chasing this ship. But like, I like the way he's going about it. So.
Oh no, they should blow the ship out the damn sky. But for the information they have,
well, I mean, like,
it was Kirk immediately blow him out. Boom, call it a day. Bye bye.
Yeah, like, but I mean, like, not at warp 7. Like, don't be putting your your own ship and crew in peril.
I'm gonna warp. You just mess with my family, hit somebody. Nah, I'm gonna warp 10, sir.
What good's that gonna do you when your engine's overheat and your ship explodes and y'all die? Like,
I'm gonna explode next to them though. We all going.
Yeah, take them with you.
I wonder what the factor is going from like warp 6 to warp 7 is.
Right.
Like how much of a difference in speed that is.
Yeah, it's like they go from like 35 to 40 miles an hour.
Is it really worth it?
Yeah.
They gain 5 miles.
Yeah.
You know what? Hey, Brandon, make a note. We got to research what warp speed and what it means to references now.
Yeah, I wonder if that's ever clarified in the original series.
I don't know. It's got to be clarified somewhere in Trekkie Land.
Yeah.
It's got to be somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, guaranteed. Yeah, so Spock thinks that destroying the alien ship is unnecessary, and he says that destroying it's not going to bring back the colony, which, it's really nice to see that the last couple of episodes he's really held that viewpoint that, like, revenge is not going to bring back, the person or whatever that was destroyed. So Kirk says that if the aliens go unpunished, then they're going to be back to attack other installations. And Spock starts to argue. He's like, hey, what about, our regard for sentient life? And Kirk says that they don't have time for that. And Uhura overhears that, like, gives Kirk this little look, like, excuse me? Like, you're throwing out our whole fucking mission statement? Like, come on. I mean, like, that is what they're out there and what they're about, It's just, like, making contact with aliens and, being super cool and not fucking everything up. And now he's like, nah, screw that, dude. We're going after this. Which really just shows, like, how pissed off he is and how seriously he's taking this. So Kirk explains that, he literally says that they're the only policemen in the area and that a crime has been committed. And Spock's like, all right, I'm not really going to argue with you any further. Like, at this point, he's just kind of accepting that he's not going to get through to Kirk on this one. And Sulu reports that the enemy is now moving at warp 7. So Kirk's like, all right, fuck it, go warp 8. And then like, everybody starts looking at him again like, are you serious, dude? And he calls the phaser room and tells them to get ready, which he already did that earlier. Like, how much more ready do you want them? Yeah, everybody just, like, looks at him like,
we're going warp 8. You need to get more ready.
Yeah, be even more ready, because this shit's getting crazy. Like, we're going to go warp 8.5 pretty soon. So, a little bit later, Sulu reports that they've closed in, or they're closing in on their target. And Navigator DePaul, so since we get his name, I figured he was probably going to be fucked. But he tells Kirk that there's an uncharted solar system nearby and that the aliens are headed away from it. And Uhura reports that they're being scanned by something, which she believes is the solar system, and that they're not tractor beams or weapons of any sort. It's just a scan checking out their ship. So suddenly the alien ship slows to a stop. And Kirk thinks that they're getting ready to turn around to fight the Enterprise. And Sulu's like, no, they're just dead out there. Like, they're not doing anything. They're just kind of floating. And Kirk's like, all right, fuck it then. Red alert, phasers ready and locked. So he's just like, yeah, something's wrong.
Yeah. They can't do anything.
Like, something's wrong. Now's our chance. And, which I really like scenes like this where he starts like giving orders to all the different stations and like everybody's moving. Like, there's so much in motion and everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. Like, I just really enjoy the kind of like coordinated, calm chaos of these situations. I don't know why.
Oh, absolutely. They make it. I don't even know how I want to say this. They do a good job of projecting what they need to.
Yeah, and it's just like controlled chaos.
Living, breathing thing.
Yeah. So they get close to the ship, and then suddenly their ship just like lurches forward, almost like it stops. And then they do stop. They come to a complete stop.
Which a good thing everyone knew what was going on. So, when that stop came out of nowhere, you weren't stabbing your face in the eye with a fork.
Yeah, they all like lurched forward and none of them are wearing seatbelts or anything. And I feel like if they're going warp 9, somebody probably should have been ejected from the front of that ship. Like, they handled that really well.
Oh my gosh.
So Scotty reports that their life support systems are working, and but their engines are dead. And the phaser room's like, hey, we don't have any power. Like, the circuits are all fine. Nothing's broken. We just inexplicably have no power. So Spock says that they're being held in place by the solar system, and that it's using an unidentifiable power. So it's not anything that they know about, but they're definitely being just held there.
Which means they're way more advanced than Kirk when it comes to technology.
Yeah, and that seems to be like a theme of this show, that everything that like Kirk and crew does, they're outmatched at just like every corner of everything. Like they're always behind the times.
They're always the underdog.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that makes for the best story. Probably why I just see them. You can imagine you guys being a superior person going against people that are less than you would be entertaining without the drama and the trying to get you out of the situations.
Oh yeah, could you imagine like the Romulan encounter if they're like, man, like we got this invisible ship out here messing stuff up, and Kirk's like, all right, I got the button for that, and he just presses the button, and like that's the end of it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just hit like the invisible ship button, and then it just blows up, and they're fine.
Like, well, that was a thing.
Yeah. So suddenly some bright colors start flashing on their view screen, and a voice starts to speak to them. And the voice identifies itself as one of the Metrons. And it explains that they can't allow the two ships to continue through their space on a mission of violence. And they say that they've analyzed the Enterprise, and they find that the crew's violent tendencies are inherent, and that they will help solve the conflict in a way most suited to the crew's limited mentalities. Basically, they're just like, you guys are violent and stupid as shit, so we're going to help you out here. They say that they're going to take Kirk and the captain of the Gorn ship, which is the first time we hear them referred to as Gorn. So now at least we have like a name for them, not just like aliens. Which actually, they didn't even know this whole time they were aliens. They kept calling them aliens, but it could have just been humans. But anyway, that's another discussion. And so they're going to take Kirk and the captain of the Gorn ship down to a planet with a suitable atmosphere so that they can settle their dispute. And they're going to be provided with a recording translating device in hopes of preventing anything like this from ever happening again in the future. And that they're going to be completely alone and not allowed to have any contact with their respective ships. So Kirk tries to argue against this, but the voice just continues over him, like cuts him off, says, hey, the planet's going to have sufficient elements for you to make weapons and, destroy each other. And that the winner's going to be allowed to leave, but the loser is going to be destroyed. And I was like, all right, like now I felt like this episode was going somewhere. Like it was pretty good before, but this was when I really started to get interested in it.
Agreed.
Yeah, it basically let Mortal Kombat begin.
Yeah. So, Kirk tries to argue again, but the Metrons say that there's going to be no discussion about it. They're just like, yeah, this is it. And then Kirk just disappears. Just like, I really enjoy like the old cheesy just like pop and he's gone effect that they keep using in this show when something disappears. like they're filming and they're like, they just keep filming, and then they're like, okay, now you leave and we're just going to film the empty spot, and then we're just going to like overlap the film. It's like there's no like special effect or anything. They're just gone.
The only thing that annoyed me about that scene right there is you hear her scream.
Yeah.
Because why? Like
she screamed like she saw a mouse.
Dude, yeah. There was no, why was it a scream? Her scream was way over the top for me. Way.
And they just told him that they were going to take him away. And she's like, wait, what? Like, she wasn't paying attention the whole time.
Yeah.
She's on her phone.
Yeah, she's just back there playing Candy Crush. And then she's like, wait, what?
like her scream was somebody just a body exploded in front of me. Scream, like her blew up. Like, oh! Like that would have been a good one, something.
Yeah.
Not the Kirk just disappeared scream. I don't know.
So we go down to the planet, and the Gorn, which is a big old lizard-looking humanoid, he's face to face with Kirk in like a desert-like area, and then that's when we go to a commercial break, and we come back from the commercial break, and Kirk he's not doing a captain's log, but he's narrating the events that have taken place so far, and he also reveals in this narration that he does not like reptiles. So like this is just a bad situation for him.
Now it's personal. It's like, fuck that reptile.
But I think he references that as the human.
Yeah.
He said like other humans though. I think he said like we don't like reptiles.
But the Gorn breaks off, like he goes to this kind of, not kind of, it is a dead tree, and he breaks off this huge branch, and then Kirk goes over to like a similar tree and he breaks off a twig.
He struggles.
Don't say it. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Just skip the scene. Just skip this part. Keep going on. Oh my gosh. I laughed so hard, bro. I didn't know what to do. I was like, no, Kurt, really? I was like, oh, I I almost skipped.
Yeah, the
Almost
Gorn,
skipped
like,
ahead, I don't
he
want to see
gets like
that.
a whole fucking tree branch, and Kirk's just like, twig. Yeah, it'll be fine. But what's even funnier is, like, he grabs this twig, and he looks at, like, the twig, and then he looks at the branch, and he just tosses the twig away. He's like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, even he's like, Jesus Christ, like, what am I doing here? So they start the fight, and the Gorn has, like, the slowest, most deliberate swing ever. Like, I know it's just 60s choreography, but Jesus Christ, this guy in this suit just phoned it in.
No, actually, it's not. I don't think it's that. I think it's the reference of the suits back then. You got to remember that thing was probably heavy as hell and hard to move
Oh
in.
yeah,
You know, it's not like a
but
suit.
still,
Yeah, and I'm assuming that you can't do a lot of movement in and through the suit because you notice he never moves very fast. Everything's slow and deliberate, like he's like almost like a monster. And I think it might be because of the suit was so damn heavy. It has to be. Don't think that makes sense.
I wonder if you could argue though that's just how that race moves.
Oh, you could argue
Ugh.
that, but
yeah.
but I know. I think it's more about that suit. It was just the suit was awesome.
No, I agree with you. To make it better though, like, oh hey, this is more continuity. Like, oh, they're just a slow moving species. They're in no hurry.
I would just, like, I've never made a movie or a TV show or anything, but I'm willing to bet it was probably like Paul said, like, probably a limitation of the suit. So, you know, have him go that speed and have Kirk go that speed, and then speed it up in editing so that it looks faster. I don't know.
I never seen Did they speed up stuff in editing back then?
I mean, I assume they could, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, like, you have to be able to shoot it in a way that it could be sped up,
Sped
like
up.
changing like a different frame rate or something.
I'm assuming maybe when you sped up things, it went bad. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that could be, but it looks terrible. I mean, it looks terrible now. I'm sure it was fantastic then.
Yeah.
You know, I probably would have been like, damn, like this is amazing back then. And it's not that I don't like it. I'm just poking fun at it because, you know, it is all this time later and things look way better now sometimes.
I do want to commend the costume designer of that Gorn. It is by far.
Oh yeah,
it's so cool. Like
it looked good.
Like even the eyes being all shiny and stuff. Like what a weird idea that just looks cool.
You know, and that really speaks to like the difference between practical effects and now how a lot of things are CG. Like practical effects usually age really, really well.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at even like the Ninja Turtles movies from the 90s and you watch that today and it still looks fucking amazing because it's practical suits. Like it's real suits.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that Gorn looks fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, all this time later. Like nothing, you know, nothing groundbreaking now, but it still looks great.
Yep. I agree.
So, you know, I'm a firm believer of less CG and, you know, more guys in suits.
Yep.
If, you know, do the best you can.
I'm with you on that.
And like even, you know, the Alien franchise, like the first Alien movie, dude in a suit, still looks fucking amazing.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, so Kirk lands a few hits here, including a really good chop, like an Austin Powers kind of chop. And a double axe handle, which they go to those a lot. Like I don't know have you ever seen a real life fight where somebody uses a double axe handle attack?
Never?
I feel like that'd be the funniest
Only
shit.
in wrestling.
Exactly. Like it's so funny that their go-to attack is always a double axe handle. He tries to kick the Gorn, but the Gorn catches his foot and like just throws him away. I thought he was gonna do like some MMA, do like a takedown and maybe get him like a leg lock or something, but apparently they don't train that on their planet.
Well, I thought the Gorn was actually going to pick him up at that point and do like a body slam.
Yeah, give him something, like show off your strength. But he does actually show off his strength because he gets Kirk in a bear hug. But Kirk manages to break free and he runs away and he finds a big rock and he throws it at the Gorn and hits him in the chest with it. And the Gorn's just like, what the fuck was that, dude? Like he just...
And that's the moment Kirk was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, well, like the Gorn picks up a big ass boulder and hurls it at Kirk. Like Kirk is up, like he's gained some high ground, and the Gorn throws this huge fucking boulder at him, but Kirk evades it and runs away. But dude, like Shatner barely evaded that boulder. Like, did you see that? It's almost like he was surprised by it. Like he saw it coming and he was like, "Shit, that thing's really moving," and like almost had to dive out of the way.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, like he didn't expect it to be coming in that fast.
Okay.
Well, Kirk would have been up there too. He was probably like, 30, 40 feet up off the ground. And that Gorn threw that boulder with ease at him.
Yeah, that Gorn is ripped. Yeah, so we go back to the Enterprise for a second, and Spock is just like asking Scotty, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And Scotty's just like, yeah, I've tried everything. I can't get the engines working. And it's funny because Scotty at this point just seems like he's really sick of Spock's shit. He's just like, dude, why are you even asking me this stuff? Like, I tried all of these things already. Like, it's my fucking job. Like, I'm on top of it. He's just like really
Are they
annoyed.
no longer bros?
Like I know I'm doing this is what I do for a living, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Their bro-ship's over from a couple weeks ago.
They had a falling out about something. So they haven't learned anything yet about the force that's holding them in place. So basically, they've gotten nowhere and they've done kind of nothing. But we're back on the planet, and Kirk tries the recording device. And he starts recording a message that explains, again, what's going on. And the Gorn can hear this through his own recording device, and it's translated into the Gorn's language. So in his recording, Kirk he mentions, he's like, hey, I don't have any chance against this thing if I have to go at it barehanded. Like, I really got to find some weapons here. And we go back to the ship.
I actually thought that's how they were going to solve this issue in the episode, is with them talking through the translator to each other.
Right. I was surprised that wasn't like the first thing that they did. That, like, I understand, okay, that Gorn's going straight for fighting, but I really thought that Kirk would have tried a diplomatic solution first. But it's like he forgot that they told him that it was a recorder, like, / translator. And he just starts, like, recording his thoughts.
Yeah, I think I didn't think he knew that he heard him, though. Or like, he could hear him through that. I don't think he knew that.
No, I think Kirk just forgot.
No, he says translator, but doesn't really say it's like a radio, like he can hear what you're saying. Like, they have to be next to each other to translate. I don't know. Like, I don't know how. I guess I wouldn't know how it works, so I don't know.
Like, what good would a translator be if you can only talk to yourself with it? Like, you know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he missed some crucial information there, or just like totally forgot about it.
Well, the way I took it, he was making a recording for any chance that a future ship might find his recording of what happened on the planet.
Yeah, that's what he said, like, in case anybody from the Federation finds this thing. But, yeah, it's really weird that he was specifically told that it's a recorder translator, and he just forgets the translator part and starts recording his diary.
I forgot.
Well, when you throw a rock at a Gorn and it bounces right off him, your thought process might be a little rattled.
Yeah.
I'll give him a break on this one.
I actually didn't see it on Kirk when they first got to the planet. I just saw the one on the Gorn, and I was like, does he have a fucking lightsaber? Because that looks like a lightsaber just hanging off of him right there.
I thought too.
But a lightsaber it was not. But yeah, on the ship, McCoy is confronting Spock, and, he's like, hey, we really have to try to help Kirk. And Spock is just like, honestly, there's nothing we can do here, which has to mean a lot coming from Spock, because he's already considered every alternative and everything he can possibly do. And when he says that there's nothing to do, then I imagine that there's nothing that you can do about any of this.
Well, not only that there's nothing that they can do, they don't even know where Kirk is. They don't know what planet he's on. Right.
Which actually, yeah, that's a really good point. Where the fuck did they get taken? They're just like stuck in space. And, like, we got to help Kirk. Well, how about you figure out where the fuck he is first?
He could literally be anywhere in the universe.
Yeah. So back on the planet with Kirk, he finds some bamboo, and he looks it over, and he's just like, I'm not going to use this. And the Gorn is seen using a vine and a rock to set up some kind of trap. So Kirk is wandering around, and he finds some diamonds, and he uses his recorder to record another log. He says that the diamonds are too small to be used as a weapon. And then he finds some other stones and it's other gems. And he's like, hey, these things are worth a fortune, but I'd trade them all for a phaser or a club. And he makes note that the diamonds are the hardest substance known in the universe.
I wrote it down.
But they said the same thing about the Cassrodinium in the Balance of Terror episode. So which one is it?
I can't believe you go all through universes. Diamonds are the hardest thing.
Right.
All universes? That seems very weird. You've been to a lot of things. And now that you mentioned that about that too.
Well, he didn't say all universes. He said in the known universe.
My bad. In the known universe, yeah. There's no way diamonds are the hardest. They got to be so harder than diamonds.
But yeah, and there was, because they said so a few episodes ago when they had the Cassrodinium. They're like, yeah, that's the hardest thing, known to mankind, or anybody really.
Yeah, he said one of. If he said one of, it'd been different, but.
Right.
I wonder if they meant diamonds are the hardest natural occurring thing in the universe.
But there could be other ones that are naturally occurring that are harder. We don't know.
Well, that they know of. So Kirk hears the Gorn, and he starts climbing a rock to get a good look at it. And he sees that the Gorn is making weapons from some stones, and he climbs a little bit higher to try to push like this big ass boulder off a ledge and onto the Gorn. So Kirk is like apparently super fucking strong because that was a big ass rock, and he pushes it off the side of the edge, and it like rolls down the hillside, and it just smashes the Gorn, like just absolutely smokes him. And I was like, "Fuck, dude!" Like that was really anticlimactic ending to that.
Yeah,
Right.
I thought the same thing. I thought it was really cool though.
Yeah. So he goes down to check the Gorn and confirm that it's dead, but it's not dead, and it just gets back up. Which like, holy shit, dude, this thing is tough.
When I saw that, what popped in my head was from the movie X-Men 3 of the Juggernaut. Like, I wanted the Gorn to get up like, I'm the Gorn, bitch.
just like pick that rock up and crush it. Which like, what the fuck is that lizard made out of? Like, holy hell. Like, actually, I guess maybe the Gorn is the strongest substance in the known universe at this point.
Right?
Oh, yeah, Gorn skin.
Yeah. So Kirk's like, all right, fuck this shit. He runs away, and he trips on a vine that pulls a big rock down on top of him and traps him, which like that thing should have crushed him. He should have been dead. There's no reason he should have survived that. That rock was fucking huge. And the Gorn, like, so he's trapped into this rock, and the Gorn approaches him with a really sharp rock as we do that whole, fade to commercial thing. And we come back from the break, and the Gorn's still moving in on Kirk because he's like taking his time and savoring it. He's like, yeah, I'm about to stab the fuck out of this dude. But he goes in for the stab, and Kirk moves. He somehow frees himself of the rock, and he gets up and he runs away, and the Gorn just kind of follows him. So we go back to the Enterprise, and Spock's trying to contact the Metrons, urgently requesting a conference with them, but he doesn't get an answer. And then we just go back to the planet. I feel like they could have thrown some of these Enterprise scenes together so it's not so back and forth. But we go back to the planet, and Kirk's making another log about how he found some more minerals and he found some sulfur. And then we're back on the Enterprise again with McCoy, who still can't believe what's happening. And then the Metrons actually show up on the screen again and tell them that they're like, hey, your boy's losing. So, you might want to make some memorial arrangements for him and for yourselves, which is like real fucked up.
Dude, that's
You better
dirty,
make
fam.
peace with your God because you're about to die.
Yeah,
That is
he's
so
like,
dirty.
shit ain't going good. You think he
That
went
is
to the
so
other one and
dirty.
told them told the Gorn,
Same
like, yo,
thing.
your dude's doing
You're-
sweet. Like, you guys are going to be partying tonight.
You're going to win.
Hold on,
Yeah.
listen, the funny part about that, hold on, it's not messed up. It's messed up. Then they say, oh yeah, now you can watch too.
Yeah.
Not only,
Yeah.
not only you're supposed to die, but you
Yeah.
can watch it happen. Watch as it happens. I'm like, all these dudes are so mean. Like, I know that I don't know if they realized what they were saying, but when they came off, like, yo, this is real messed up.
Yeah. Because McCoy's like, hey, stop. We don't want this to happen. And the Metrons are like, oh, we have compassion, so we're gonna let you see him die. And they like put it up on pay-per-view
How
on the
compassionate.
ship screen.
Dude, that's such a messed up thing. And like, I'm like, they're right, but it is so wrong at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
I was laughing.
They're all like fucking sweet, and they go get popcorn and drinks and shit because it's a once in a lifetime event, especially if Kirk
Totally.
loses.
Yep.
But Spock notes that there's some potassium nitrate on the rock next to Kirk, and he doesn't say why it's important. He's just like, oh look, potassium nitrate, like that's really important, but I'm not gonna fucking tell anybody why. And I hate that. I hate when shows and movies do that. Like tell me why it's so important.
So I'm also assuming that Star Trek people are chemists. I don't want to clarify something real quick, but all the people I'm hanging out with, nobody knows he uses chemicals to make nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming in Star Trek cadet school you must have to learn. And they said it was basic chemistry. If that's basic,
Right.
holy crap! Like, man, like I don't know. I was just curious about that. Now this whole Star Trek school I'm interested in for real, because he said, yep. He said that's basic chemistry to know all that stuff, because I didn't know what he was making, and I know a lot of stuff about things like that. I thought I have an idea, but I don't know.
When Kirk noted that there was the sulfur and all that, I was like, okay, he's gonna make some kind of like explosive, like he's gonna ignite that somehow, like he's going to do something with it. Like not, yeah, I don't have. I'm shit at chemistry too, but I was like, okay, like he'll probably end up doing something with that.
Yeah,
But I didn't know what.
you're making a bomb or something. I assume it could be a bomb or something.
Yeah. So Kirk notices the minerals, and he kind of makes this face like he gets an idea, And the Gorn actually starts like trash talking him through the translator, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm tired of chasing you right now. Like, why don't you wait for me, and I'll make it real merciful and quick." And Kirk's like, "Oh,
come fight
like
me like a man."
yeah,
That
like,
is,
just give up."
that's such a 2000s like a movie thing to see though. Like it was very weird to see that in this kind of thing because I thought that's more of the way we are now, the cockiness. But the fact that he was real cocky, I found that funny. I found it
Yeah,
funny.
well, I mean, you got to figure, like, after everything he's been through, he knows, and he even heard Kirk say, like, "I don't stand a chance against this thing." So he's got to be feeling real good about himself.
Like, yeah, I got this. Yeah, I got you, bro. Get over here. I'll make it quick for you.
Yeah. And Kirk's like, "Oh, merciful and quick, like at the outpost." And the Gorn's like, "Well, they were intruding in our territory, and so they were invading, and we had to destroy them." So we go to McCoy because they can see and hear all this, and he's wondering if Cestus 3 was an intrusion on Gorn space. And he says that he's like, "Are we the bad guys here? Like, are we in the wrong? And were the Gorn just protecting themselves?" And Spock is like, "Yeah, I think that's what's going on, and I've kind of been saying that shit since the beginning, and Kirk wasn't having it, so hope he gets fucking stabbed with that rock."
Even that means we're all gonna die.
Yeah, he's like, "Fuck it, I'll die right. I don't give a fuck."
That would be a Spock thing to do.
Yeah. So they keep watching on the screen as Kirk is like hobbling around and he's looking for a weapon, which is like real fucking dumb because he keeps they said that there were weapons here. They got to be phasers somewhere. Like the other dude's fighting with some fucking vines and a rock, and you think they just put like a plasma rifle somewhere in a tree for you to use?
Oh
like,
my
it's
god,
it's really dumb.
Yeah.
It's like he won't let it go. It's really fucking dumb. But he goes and finds some more bamboo and a little bit of rope, and Spock's like, "Hell yeah," like he's putting something together, like he's reasoning something out. So Kirk goes around and he gathers up some minerals and he puts them in like a bamboo tube, and I was like, fuck, he's gonna make a pipe bomb. Spock tells McCoy what's going on. He's like, yeah, he's gonna make gunpowder because like Kirk is grinding up some minerals to make gunpowder, and he's gonna use the diamonds as projectiles. I'm like, fuck, he's just making a big ass shotgun. Like that's pretty cool.
One thing about this whole part was it was very interesting to see Spock react to Kirk's tactics watching him. Like the way he was like really inquisitive and like really into it, and like, okay, yeah, that's it. Like, okay, like I know, like Spock has the answer, and it's like watching Kirk get there, and so he's like, it's really interesting to see that happen. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah,
there was a sign of respect on his face, like, oh, hey, he's figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. I really appreciated it.
Do you think he's watching this and he's like, hey, if the Gorn doesn't make it, like he slams his quarters down on the console and he's like, I got round 2. Like, I think I can take Kirk. He's like, I've been watching him and I think I can do better than the Gorn.
That would be cool.
Do you think Spock would have been a good match for the Gorn?
Oh yeah, Spock would have
hand combat.
Spock would have been done quick.
Yeah, and I think he also would have tried to reason with it first, given that's been his position this entire time.
Yep.
But I also wonder if the Vulcan nerve pinch would work on the Gorn. Like, you think their skin's too thick that he just couldn't get in there and do that?
I don't think he could. If you can take a big boulder to the chest, and I don't know if Spock could be strong enough to do the Vulcan pinch on him.
I am hoping that some of the aliens that we meet again later on. So maybe the Gorn to be ones that we meet later on. Like, oh yeah, remember that episode we met up before? Now here's a different version of them, like stuff like that. I think that'd be really cool. So hopefully we get to know more about the creature itself.
If the nerve pinch didn't work on the Gorn, do you think that like he could do the Vulcan nerve pinch on the Gorn's testicles and that would work? Do you think Spock fights dirty like that? It's just like that didn't work, and he just goes like straight for the groin.
I would have referenced. I do not think that the grip is not how hard it is. It's the location of it.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, I don't want that location either.
Yeah, I believe it's location. Like it's there on the shoulder, not like he's so damn strong he squeeze your shoulder and you pass out.
Yeah.
So he squeeze your balls and be like, oh my god.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, it hurts. Oh my god, it hurts. Stop it, dude. Oh.
Or he starts to enjoy it, like, ooh.
What do you want? I tell you the Wi-Fi password. Stop squeezing.
We're back in fan fiction territory. So Kirk's finishing up his mineral tube here as the Gorn slowly approaches. And you know what? I haven't mentioned it yet, but the Gorn's just been hissing this whole time, and it's fucking annoying. Like, it sounds like just air coming out of a hose. It's annoying as shit. He's just
Come on, he's trying to
hissing the whole
breathe, man.
time. Yeah, it's so terrible. But he approaches Kirk, and Kirk points the cannon at the Gorn, and he manages to light it by like rubbing some rocks together and like slaps this. I don't even know. He lights the damn thing, and it goes off, and it fires at the Gorn and embeds like a bunch of diamonds into him. So now he's just a fucking blinged out Gorn. He looks at himself. He's like, this is actually pretty chill. Like, I look fucking good like this. But no, he goes down. So Kirk grabs the sharp rock, and he goes over to prepare to drive it into the Gorn's throat, and he decides not to. He stops, and he thinks, he's like, well, maybe the Gorn were just protecting themselves when they attacked the outpost. And I'm like, where the fuck did he get that idea? And I'm like, why didn't he think that before now? This whole time, he's been about just murdering these fucking things. And then he's finally about to do it, and he's like, wait a minute. Maybe I am the bad guy here. Like, what the fuck was that?
The Gorn accused them of being invaders, and they kill invaders. But he never made a motion like he'd heard that.
No, he didn't give a shit the whole time.
Yeah, because as irony is that the same thing he said when he got there. He said, "Oh man, they invaded us. We got to kill them." Now, then the Gorn says the same thing. I wish there was a better moment to reference that, like they referenced that, because they used that same language in the same way, but they both thought they were in the right. And I wish they would have made it more obvious.
Yeah, it just didn't make any sense that he's been all gung-ho and he's finally about to kill this thing, and he's just like, wait a minute. And like, suddenly, it's not like he was thinking this the whole time. He's just, it's very, like, it's instantly, he's just like, what if I am the bad guy here? Like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, or reference, oh yeah, this is a life. Like, we shouldn't take, like, if he just said something about the sentient life thing right there, he'd be like, you know what? I can't just take this life this way.
Yeah.
Like I could have got behind that.
Didn't he, when he went in for the kill, he's like, wait a minute, I'm not here for your entertainment.
Yeah, this is where he stands up and he's like, I'm not going to kill the Gorn. And then the Metrons, you're not going to get you're going to have to find your entertainment somewhere else. And then the Gorn disappears, and a man appears in front of Kirk, which I totally thought was a chick at the beginning, just because he's wearing like a dress and he's wearing like a lot of makeup.
Yeah,
I thought it was a woman. And that's not saying like that's not making fun. I saw the dress. I thought it was just like a woman with short hair, because that dude had a lot of makeup on. But maybe he was a big fan of 80s hair metal or something. So yeah, he's the Metron, or one of the Metrons, and which actually would be a pretty cool punk band name.
The Metrons.
Yeah. So he talks to Kirk, and he's like, hey, I'm about 1,500 of your Earth years old, and you really surprised me by helping a helpless enemy, which he didn't really help him. He just didn't kill him. Which he's just, and the whole time he's not killing them.
Uh-huh.
The Gorn's just laying there in agony because he has fucking diamonds embedded into his chest. So maybe a mercy killing would have been the way to go.
Wait, did he say because he showed mercy he was surprised?
Yeah.
Or did he say because he showed his... Yeah. I thought he said used the word mercy, because I want to specify the mercy
He used
part.
mercy.
Yeah, he says that...
okay.
He says that by Kirk showing mercy, the Metrons think that there might be hope for Earthlings, and that destroying them wouldn't be civilized. So yeah, he does say that he showed mercy. But I believe that, killing him would have been the mercy, because that thing's just down there like, fucking kill me. Like, this is fucking terrible. End it, please. So yeah, they tell him that, and then the Metrons send the Gorn back to his ship, and they're like, hey, now that he's gone, we can totally fucking destroy that if you want. Like, I just didn't want him to hear that. And Kirk's like, no, it's
that was kind of
cool.
a dick move on his behalf.
Yeah, he's like, I wanted to wait till he was out of the room, but we can totally just, fucking do away with that guy.
No, that's not cool.
Kirk's like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, we don't need to do that. He's like, maybe we can, talk and reach an agreement later. And in the ship right now, Spock's just like, fuck you. Like, I've been saying that whole time, you piece of trash.
Like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You just got the... Yeah.
Yeah, so the Metrons are like, all right, maybe in several thousand years, we can meet with you guys and make an arrangement, but, you're still half savage, so that's not cool. And then Kirk's like, did you see me use a diamond shotgun? Like, motherfucker, I'm full savage. So, Kirk disappears, or the Metron disappears, and then Kirk disappears and reappears back on the Enterprise, and his clothes are fixed up and everything, and he's not all messed up. And they get ready to leave. Kirk's like, all right, that was a thing. Like, it's time to get the fuck out of here. And Sulu's like, well, we did get out of there. Like, somehow we've teleported across the entire fucking galaxy. And they're all just kind of okay with that. They're just like, all right, like, whatever. Like, stranger shit's happened today. Kirk's like, plot a course back to Cestus 3, because we got to take this survivor back home. Like, we don't want to... He doesn't say that, but he's like, we don't want to be stuck with this motherfucker.
Well, then they got to pick up all the 30 people that they put down on the planet to do...
They left 30 fucking people on that planet. They're sitting there for weeks. Like, you think he's coming back? Like, I don't think he's coming back. Like, they're screwed there.
There's no food on this fucking planet. It was all destroyed.
I do want to clarify. There's more than 30. It has to be more than 30. Because they would send 30 without security team.
Yeah.
So there's definitely more than 30.
Yeah.
Unless you send 30 medics down there and no security team, there's definitely got to be more than 30 people there. Nah.
Yeah. Well,
especially a planet that's just been attacked in a war.
Maybe by this point they've realized that the security team is absolutely fucking useless, so they just don't send them for anything.
Well, you know how good they are for searching through the hallways of the Enterprise.
He actually sent them down there to be rid of them, so they probably are there. He's like, get these fucking bumbling idiots off my ship. Just send them down there. And hopefully we get teleported to the other side of the galaxy and we never get to deal with them again. Yeah, so they plot their course back to Cestus 3, and Spock says that after Kirk fired the cannon, they lost picture, and he's interested to know what happened. And Kirk is like, well, he says earthly, he's like, yeah, we're a really promising species, and maybe in 1,000 years, we'll be able to prove it. And Spock's just like, that doesn't answer my question. Like, what the fuck happened? That's not an answer at all. And then they just leave. Like, 'cause it's not an answer. Like, what? Just fucking tell him what happened, dude. Like, don't give him that shit. Like, he paid for that fucking pay-per-view. It cut out at the end, and he wants to know what the hell happened. It's Halloween Havoc all over again. Now they got to play it on Nitro.
Oh, God.
That's a deep reference. But yeah, that's the end of that episode. I hate when they do that. I hate it so much. Like, just fucking tell him what happened. Now he's gonna have to dig through the logs, like the reports, to find it. But yeah, that's it, man. They go on back. I assume they go back to Cestus 3 and pick up their people and probably drop off that other guy. They're like, hey, we understand everything here is destroyed and you're gonna be the only guy, but you're not our problem, and just fucking leave him there.
Something like that.
Yeah. You know what? I'm actually I'm gonna start this one off and say that it was an alright episode. But it wasn't anything like crazy good. I enjoyed it for how like cheesy it is now. It's probably fucking awesome back then. No major issues aside from the fact that Kirk was really like weirdly revenge focused this episode and didn't listen to Spock when he does all the damn time, because Spock is right 99.9% of the time. But yeah, I liked it enough. Yeah, that's all. That's really it. It was fun. It was just a fun episode. Yeah, Paul?
Dan, go ahead and go first, because mine's a little long. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I enjoyed the episode. I'd actually put it in probably my top 5 as of now. What I actually liked most about the episode was that the writers had like the foresight, like, hey, if we were actually traveling the galaxy, this probably would become an issue at some point of colonizing a planet in another territory owned by another superpower. So I thought it was kind of cool they touched upon that. But other than that, I enjoyed it.
All right, Paul.
All right, so Star Trek has this. I'm gonna get deeper, guys. Star Trek has this theme of this overarching major issues about humans in general, in a way so smart and make you think about it. So the biggest overarching issue of this is about being a better human and showing mercy. Like they wrote that as the big arc of the whole episode, and they do it a lot of time where they reference big human issues and make it part of their show. And for a show of that time, that's really smart. I'm really impressed, really, by the writing of this show so much. I'm so impressed with the writing so much. Like, they seem to know how to put these real big issues. Even the issue where Kurt did something strange, where it was wartime. So he forgot his human part and said, yo, I don't care. I don't care about sentient life. I'm gonna destroy this ship. Even that idea that in the hard times, we forget our humanity and we start forgetting who we are as people and treat people with respect they deserve. It's just the way they do that. It's just it's so smart to me, and I'm really impressed by the way they seem to have this overarching about us becoming better humans as we travel the galaxy and things like that. It's just it's written very well. I actually like the episode a lot also, it had some good and some bad. It was kind of up and down, but overall, the theme I got behind it was so big and amazing to me that I just couldn't. It was, man, it's so good written, dude. It's written so well, man. I'm impressed, dude.
And they're really good at like throwing the life lesson stuff at you without
Yeah,
forcing it in your
yes.
face.
Beating it
Like,
over your head.
it's very subtle, but it's noticeable.
Yeah.
It's not, they don't just come out and say, "Listen, you fucking moron," So
Like this episode had two big life lessons. Kirk wanted to forget his humanity because it's wartime, so he was going to do something against who he viewed him as, and then my second issue was the whole the mercy thing at the end. So it's like like those two big things are two big things of life even today, and anybody can relate to that,
right?
Even today. So I find that so good.
Yeah. So I actually want to take a second here and get into a little bit, nothing crazy, just a couple minutes here. I'm going to sweep through a few of these real quick of the trivia about this episode from pulled off from IMDb's website, because there are a few really interesting things here. So apparently, William Shatner still currently suffers from tinnitus due to an improperly timed special effects explosion on the set of this episode. And both Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley, who played McCoy, reportedly suffered from tinnitus as well during the remainder of their lives. So the explosions that they had fucked them up for the rest of their lives.
Wow, it was so close to their ears that it blew out the eardrums, huh?
Yeah.
Messed their eardrums out. That is crazy.
Which, I mean, they were like really close to
really
those.
close.
Yeah.
Well, I forget that stuntmen weren't really big back then. So a lot of times it's the actual actors doing their own things.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy to see like Kirk, Shatner doing all like a lot of this crazy shit. Because I mean, some of these like we pointed out during Shore Leave, like when they were wrestling on the rocks, like some of that shit had to hurt.
Yeah. Imagine if he had the rest of that lion, dude.
Yeah. Or the tiger
for real. The tiger, with no CGI.
That's nuts. But this was also the first episode to establish that the Enterprise's cruising speed is warp 6. So we got that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, when they're just like kind of cruising through space, they're going warp 6. So really, them going to 7 and 8, it doesn't seem like it's that crazy, right? Like they're just going a little bit faster than their regular speed, but they're like, hey, this is fucking nuts.
So when they go down to warp 1, which they do a lot, that means they're just basically cruising, like below cruising speed. Like, oh, hey, we're in no hurry to get anywhere.
Yeah, like they're holding down the brakes the whole time. But also, Paul, you had touched base on this earlier. So the Gorn is not actually seen until 23 minutes into this episode, and that it's almost halfway through the running time. And this says that despite the aliens' impressive debut, the cultural popularity of the image, no Gorn was ever seen again in mainstream Star Trek production until Star Trek Enterprise in A Mirror Darkly Part 2, almost 40 years later.
Oh, you are haters, man. I just asked about that.
Yeah, this says it did appear in the animated series in 1973, but that's considered non-canon. So, yeah, didn't show up until another 40 years.
That's disappointing.
Well, that's kind of really disappointing.
Yeah. Another one here is that we did point this one out. It's the first episode that we get to see photon torpedoes get used.
Okay.
And this also says that Ted Cassidy, who played Lurch in The Addams Family from 1964, this was his last role in Star Trek, and he did the voice of the Gorn, so the translated voice.
Oh, okay.
We knew that he did play, Dan, you remember we pointed out that he was the guy that played Ruck in What Are Little Girls Made Of? The big angry robot guy. Apparently, he was also the voice of the antagonist in the Corbomite maneuver, the like puppet that showed up on the screen. He did the voice for that as well.
Oh, damn.
Yep. Bobby Clark, one of the performers who played the part of the Gorn captain, visited Star Trek soundstage 38 years later for the filming of Captain Archer's fight with the Gorn Slar in Star Trek Enterprise. Oh, so the next time we see the Gorn again, it's one of the same guys that actually played it.
That is awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy. 40 years later, so.
It's funny, for watching this episode for the first time ever, Family Guy did an episode where they did a little short clip of this actual fight scene.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, like the early on Family Guy, probably the first couple seasons.
They do a lot of there's a lot of pop culture references to this show. I'm finding out as we.
Oh, I just saw one from Futurama yesterday. That was a callback to Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah, like things I had no idea about until watching this.
I also saw like a clip. I don't know what the context was, but I saw like a really short, like 3-second clip where current William Shatner was sitting on a couch and the Gorn was next to him and he like slapped it or something. So they're still referencing this episode.
Yeah, that's funny.
But also says that this was the first episode to be broadcast in color by the BBC when it was first shown in the UK in November of 1969. So the first episode of Star Trek to be played in color in the UK was this one.
Dude, I bet it exploded after this, dude. Just imagine seeing that for the first time.
Yeah.
That's what. Oh my god. That's one thing about. Don't get to. That's one reference about things in life. Like I remember the first time I saw 4K, I lost my mind. So I can remember my first time seeing like a color TV. That would have been insane.
Yeah.
And especially watching the show would be insane too.
Yeah. So yeah, this is okay. Another good one before we put a stop to this here. This is the first episode in which it's established that transporters cannot beam through deflector shields.
And they used the word shield, didn't they? Not screen, didn't they?
Yeah.
See, I want to know when it happens because they use screen in this episode. I'm gonna keep a reference to we find out.
Didn't they have that issue in the one with the neural neutralizer, Dagger of the Mind? They couldn't transport them off the planet because the planet had shielding, but also everything was played out of order.
Yep.
So this may have been recorded before that one, but it probably aired before or after it. So
yeah, I just wonder.
Yeah, that's it. That's I mean, there's a lot more trivia on there, but I don't think any of it's like really worth getting into. Yeah, so the next episode we're going to cover is season 1, episode 19, entitled "Tomorrow is Yesterday," which probably means some time traveling, I assume.
I read the one letter thing that said the Enterprise is thrown back to the 20th century.
Oh my god! So there's a little bit of time travel, yeah.
So
Right.
maybe it's the old Earth that's
Yeah,
our time or something. Who knows? It'll be fun.
yeah. Hopefully it's another good one. But yeah, as usual, Twitter is at WWST_podcast, Gmail WWSTpod@gmail.com. And you can still find us everywhere, basically. Spotify, Audible, iHeart, all that good stuff. And, thanks everybody for sticking with us through this whole thing. And we're at like the halfway point or just past the halfway point of the first season now. So it seems like it's been a while, but at the same time, I feel like I've watched hardly any Star Trek. So
yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you everybody for sticking with us. And that's going to be it for me. So we'll see you guys next time.
Later.
Later.